These girls love the boy, they love the boy. These girls love the boy. These girls love the boy, they love the boy. These girls love the boy. These girls love the boy.
Hey, what's going on, YouTube fam? It's your boy Mark, and I'm back with another video. And today's topic, I'm actually going to be talking about a real heavy topic, another heavy topic, because I attended a book signing that my cousin did. She actually just published a book called The Product of a Pimp and a Prostitute, which actually touches on aspects of her life and forgiveness. And from the title of my video, you can tell that this is going to actually be a topic of forgiveness. And the guest speaker who is actually introducing my cousin actually posed a question to everybody who was in the audience. What was something that you had to do in life in order to move on? And so as I was recording, as I was doing the recording for the book signing, I thought to myself, what was something that I had to do in order to move on in life and to move forward within my life? And one of those things I believe is one of the hardest things to do overall is just to forgive in general. But the hardest thing to do in life is actually to forgive yourself. And I know that may sound crazy in a way, but I know for myself, in order for me to move on and for me to get over a lot of the hurt and the pain and the trials that I had to go through, I had to forgive myself, because I internalized a lot of that hurt and that pain, which manifested itself in my relationships. And I'm not even talking about a romantic relationship. I'm talking about with friendships and associations with people, my associates and people with that I would just meet on a constant basis. It made me very closed off and angry. I had such a black heart towards individuals, because I didn't trust a lot of people, because I had pain inflicted upon me by so many people who I trusted. One started with my mother, like from the earlier videos, as everyone know, that I was abandoned by my mom when I was 2 months old, and then having to, after my great grandmother had passed, and then having to deal with that issue of my great grandmother, the only person who I felt loved me at such a vulnerable state in my life, being taken away from me and being stripped out of my life, and then having to go back with my mother, this woman who I knew was my mom, but I didn't know that the only thing I knew her as is the lady who gave birth to me. And it was very hard for me to form a relationship with her because of the hurt and the pain, and just seeing how she had different men in and out of the house, and just seeing how drugs took a toll on her, and seeing how alcohol took a toll on her, and seeing how prostitution took a toll on her. And then having my biological father not being in my life, and him being in and out of the federal penitentiary. And I started to internalize a lot of that, because I'm like, God, is there something wrong with me? Is it my fault? Is it my fault that my mom doesn't want me? Is it my fault that my dad doesn't want me? Is it my fault that my great-grandmother passed away and was taken away from my life? What is it about me, God, that is so effed up in a way that would make you strip everything possible that should mold and build me into the man who I am today, be stripped away from me? And when I had this talk with my foster dad, and he sat there and said, well, Mark, why not you? It's like, so many people, regardless of the situation, you never know what someone is going through. And I think what is so crazy is when somebody asks me, oh, well, you don't look like a person who's been through the foster care system, or you don't look like somebody who's been homeless and who's had a mom who had to deal with drug addiction, or you don't look like a person who had to deal with child molestation, or you don't look like the type of individual who was affected by issues like that. And I always had to sit there and say, well, what does a person who struggle actually look like? What do you consider somebody who struggle? What do they look like? Because find me a person who's in this world that's not struggling. And I mean, regardless of the outer facade of how somebody presents themselves, you never know what's going on internally within that individual. And I know for me personally, I internalize a lot of hurt, a lot of anger, and a lot of pain because it closed me off to so many people. Because I'm like, God, why? Why does this person not like me? Why does this person not like me? Why is this person being stripped out of my life? Why is that person being stripped out of my life? Why is it that everybody who I should love been taken away from me? What is it, Father, that you instilled in me to sit there and feel like I needed to burden this cross that you're giving me? And I think that's one of the reasons why I went through the problems and the issues that I had to go through, is to put me on this platform, because nothing negative that anybody can sit there and say towards me can affect me in such a way. Because I've been through so much hurt, I've been through so much pain, I've been through so much heartache, that any little thing when somebody's judging me will not affect who I am as an individual and who I am as a person. I don't allow people to dictate my happiness or my purpose in life. Whereas when I was a child and when I was a teenager, I did. I felt like I had to sit there and accommodate myself to fit in the mold of everybody else, for me to fit in with their life. And I had to sit there and be like, Mark, you don't have to do that. Not everybody is going to like you, and you don't need everybody to like you. And you're not on this earth for everybody to like you. You're only here to fulfill your purpose and your calling. And I feel like my purpose and my calling was to be on a platform such as YouTube, expressing and not being ashamed of my story. Because I have a story where I used to go to job interviews, and one of the a few people, my foster dad doesn't even know this, like, it was a couple job interviews I went to, and they asked me, well, what is your greatest accomplishment? And I guess they thought I was going to say the multiple degrees I have, but my greatest accomplishment, I told them, was that I was able to overcome the hurt and the obstacles and the pains of seeing my mom strung out on drugs, having to live in a homeless shelter, having to watch my mom be raped, having to watch my mom get beat on by men she so desperately claimed to love, having to witness not having a father in my life and not want any part of who I am as a man, to teach me the simple things. I couldn't even talk to a man about how to love a woman because I didn't have that father figure or that man in my life to do that. I had an aunt who placed me into foster care because I told her her son was molesting and raping me, and she didn't believe that, so she kicked me out of her house. And that's how I ended up in a foster care system. And it's crazy that people get so affected by things that they don't want to accept the harsh realities of what is going on in their world. And when I sat there and told her that, it was too heavy for her. A couple of these people that I went through that, and they're like, well, don't you think that you shouldn't be sharing that? Don't you think that's a little bit too heavy? And I'm like, why should I be ashamed of what I went through as a human being or what I went through as a person? I'm not going to be ashamed of what I went through as a person and a human being, because those life struggles have made me who I am as a person, and they have made me a fighter, something that my great-grandmother has always told me I was going to be. Mark, you are going to be a fighter. You're going to be able to push forward. You're going to be able to you're going to be able to move forward. You're going to be able to sit there and handle anything. And I think that's what my life has built me for, to be able to share anything and to be able to share my story on a platform such as YouTube, where you're going to be constantly judged and where people can throw any type of hateful comments at you and so much pain and heartache at you that they sit there and judge you. And I believe that my life has set me up to where I can handle all that criticism and all that pain and all that hurt. So one thing I would sit there and say is, never internalize anybody's projection of what they feel like you're supposed to be. Or never let them project their insecurities on you. Because like a slogan that I always follow by is, I manage myself, I don't manage insecurities. That's one thing I will not do. I don't manage other people's insecurities. I'm on this earth to manage Mark Coleman. I'm not on this earth to manage my mother. I'm not on this earth to manage my father. I'm not on this earth to manage my aunt who placed me into foster care. I'm not on this earth to manage my previous foster parents. I'm on earth to manage the individual who sits in front of you on this camera, to be a better man and to not allow those hurts and those transgressions affect who I am as a person. So what I have learned over these 30 years is that God doesn't love people in a legalistic manner. You don't have to earn his love. He doesn't judge you. He loves you just for the way you are. And it's so innate in the human nature for humans to judge you and to prejudge you that's why I became such a loner, where it's like, I'm not going to give you power over me, because why should I listen to you and give your words power and listen to somebody who I don't even know have so much power over who I am as an individual? I'm not going to let your words affect who I am as a man, who I am as a person. So all those painful memories of my past that kids tried to sit there and do, or trying to fight me and bully me, or just me having to grow up in a foster care system, or me being homeless and poor and witnessing the trials and tribulations that my mom had to go through, and the trials and tribulations of my biological father being absent from my life, and just the heartache and pain of just having to be alone and navigate things. It taught me to know that God loves me for who I am, and to not accept anybody's definition of who I am. And if there's anything that I can leave you with from this video, is to always forgive yourself and to move forward, and never let nobody's pain or insecurities be projected onto you. That's the only thing I really wanted to say, and I'm sorry that this video was like 12 minutes long, but it's your boy Mark, and please tell me what was some of the hardest things that you had to deal with in order to move on within your life. It doesn't even have to be forgiving yourself, just anything that you felt like you needed to do in order to move on within life. Let me know down in the comments below. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, share, please. And as always, you can follow me on my social media if you have any questions. I left my IG, my Twitter, my Snapchat. I have my email address in there if you have any questions or comments or concerns, or anything that you have that you want me to speak on another video. And again, it's your boy Mark, and I'm out of here. I'm logging off. And remember, be awesome, stay awesome. You are awesome. Peace.